Hello, welcome. I see we have people starting to join us here. Thank you so much for being with us today for Hidden Gems of the Law Library. I think this is the fourth time we've done this now, and it's a lot of fun for us. I hope it's fun for you. I'm Lisa Foster with the library, and with me is Nicole Gigliotti, my coworker. We're both reference librarians here at San Diego Law Library, and we will be presenting today. And if you ever should come into the library, chances are you'll see one or both of us at the reference desk. So we love talking about legal research and our resources that we have here at the library that help you with your legal research. So we really enjoy doing these presentations. So a couple housekeeping things before we get started, and just to give people a chance to get signed on. This is a CLE presentation today, continuing legal education. If you are verified as having actually showed up in Zoom, you will get the CLE certificate by email this afternoon. And I also want to let you know, this is our last CLE for December, but we will have more coming up in January. It's not showing on the calendar yet, but I should be setting some of those up in the next week or two. So do keep an eye out on our website, or even better, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, and you'll be informed about any new upcoming classes that have been put into the system for registration. Another thing about the presentation today is it is interactive. You are able to ask us your questions about any of the resources that we're talking about or the library. So if you want to ask any questions today, please use the Q&A function. You will see that on your screen. It will look like two speech bubbles with a Q&A next to it. And one of the nice things about that function in Zoom is you can ask questions anonymously or with your name, whatever you choose. One more housekeeping thing, there is a survey at the end. We always appreciate any feedback you have, so thank you in advance to anyone who takes a minute or two to take our survey. And with that, let's go ahead and start the slides, Nicole. So a little bit about this presentation. Our library has many thousands of resources, and so this is just going to only cover a few of them. That's all we can do in the course of an hour and do any justice. But again, we have had some previous webinars on hidden gems that you can find on our YouTube channel, which I think is another hidden gem. You can view some of our past webinars and also get self-study CLE credit for those. So take a look at our YouTube channel. And we will also be talking about a variety of resources, print, electronic, available at the library and outside of the library. So we will be specifying for each resource where you can find those resources and use them. So just a really quick, our current hours for in-person services at Maine are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And then we also have partnership public libraries in El Cajon and Chula Vista. I'm going to be saying a little bit more about that later when we talk about some of the resources, because some of the ones we're talking about today are actually available at those partnership locations. So stand by for a little bit more about that. And we also have continuing virtual services. You know, during the pandemic, we were all virtual services, but we are still doing reference by phone and email. So please always feel welcome to use those services and ask us your questions by phone or email. We will have the information about how to contact us later in the presentation. And sometimes we can actually find things for you and help you out by email so that you don't have to come downtown to the library.
So before we get started, we wanted to ask if any of you guys had guesses about which resources we'll be talking about today. We wanted to give you the opportunity to put your guesses in the question answer and see if anyone can guess.
And if you looked at the handout that went out, no spoilers. We just want you to guess. And maybe nobody, you know, with all the resources we have, I can understand if it's difficult to even make a guess about that. We really have so many resources.
So I'm still not seeing any guesses. So I think we should just go ahead and let you guys know what resources we'll be talking about today. So the first one that we're going to be featuring is a publication known as California Elements of an Action. This publication includes updated case law and statutory materials on elements of various causes of actions. In the latest edition, specific actions addressed are business torts, contract actions, fraud actions, and negligence actions. Those are just the ones that have updated for the newer edition, but it features all sorts of different California causes of actions. It is available in print downtown at our library and electronically through Westlaw while at the law library. It will also be available on our computers at our partnership libraries, which Lisa will be speaking more to you guys about in a bit. So to access the California elements of action on Westlaw while at the library, you're going to go first to the San Diego Law Library homepage, which should be shown on your screen now. Then you'll go into databases. From here, the list is in alphabetical order, and you'll also be able to see if it's accessible at the library, as well as wireless on your own computer while you're at the library, and then as well as for at home if you're part of the borrowers program. Westlaw is not going to be one that's available remotely, but as we said, Lisa's going to talk to you about the partnership locations in a bit. So scrolling down, we'll see Westlaw. You click agree. And then from here, to access this publication, you'll go to secondary sources, California, and then all California texts and treaties. And then you'll find it right here, California Elements of an Action. And so here's the electronic version of this publication. And so if you see, you can click this plus sign. It'll show you two options, text and forms. The texts will give you some relevant information, as you can see here, about the authority, jury instructions, and statute of limitations. For forms, if you click the drop-down menu, you'll see other forms that are available to you. And with these forms, you will be able to download them as a Word doc so that you can go in and edit them. That's one of the nice features about this electronic resource. So that's how to access this publication through or online through our database from the webpage. So going back to the PowerPoint.
And just to chime in on this one, I really like this one. I think it just has so many useful uses. I think it's useful for pro se litigants as well as attorneys. It's very user-friendly, very accessible. Gives you a lot of information about each theory in one place. If you're drafting a complaint or an answer, you can get sample documents, list of affirmative defenses. If you just need to quickly look up a statute of limitations for a legal theory, and this is one place you can do it really quickly rather than waiting through a lot of material in the statutes or in the Rudder Group civil procedure. I just find it really useful for a lot of things. And I like this one compared to the California Causes of Action, which is a different publisher, because it actually integrates the sample pleadings and forms into the text. Whereas in California Causes of Action from James Publishing, there's a CD that's attached to the book, but I just really like this one. I think it's super user-friendly. And yeah, you can see it's completely up to date. We've got the 22-23 edition.
Okay.
So now I'm going to talk about this one, California Law in Motion Model Forms. And I meant to say this before, but this presentation today is not sponsored by Thomson Reuters. You might think so after you hear us talk about several things, but hey, we love our Thomson Reuters and Westlaw resources here at the library. A lot of them are really our go-to resources, but I know in past presentations, we've maybe covered some things from other publishers a little bit more than today, but this happens to be Thomson Reuters heavy today. So this is another Thomson Reuters / Westlaw resource called California Law in Motion Model Forms. We're showing you one of the binders here, but it is actually a 2-volume set. And it also sits on the shelf next to a companion set called California Law in Motion Model Authorities. I find these resources that relate to law in motion work are so user-friendly and so helpful here in the library. We get a lot of patrons coming in that are working on motions. This is a really common reference topic here at the library. And of course, we have various things that you may already be familiar with, like the pleading in practice, civil procedure before trial Rudder Group, other places where you can find model forms. But I think this publication is special because it actually has not just very blank or skeletal, templates. It really has fleshed out points and authorities and arguments. And I think it's just got a lot more content and a lot more sample argument included in it than some other publications that do the same thing. And just makes the work of writing or opposing a motion so much faster. It's also a little bit distinguishable from a resource we've talked about before in one of our previous hidden gems that's called California Opposing Civil Motions, because this one is helpful for either being the moving party or the opposing party. And that other publication is only for oppositions. And so if you are the moving party, you're going to find many, many templates. It says over 400 here, and that's correct. For just about every kind of motion you can think of in California, you will find a template in this book, and it will have really good sample points and authorities and content, including alternative arguments for some of the types of motions like the summary judgment. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and screen share and show this one to you in Westlaw. And I guess I'll take a moment now to mention that, like other Westlaw publications, this one is available at the library in Westlaw and also at our partner library locations. So let me take a moment before I show you the resource, because I really wanted to talk about the partner locations today. We have partner locations at the Chula Vista Civic Center Public Library and the El Cajon Public Library. And what does that mean? So let me go to our website and show you. These are libraries where we actually have select legal databases on a couple of computers at these public libraries. We were able to do this through a grant that we received from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And we actually have Westlaw Edge, I hope you can see on the screen here, as well as several other databases available anytime these libraries are open. Why am I so excited about this? Well, first of all, these libraries are open on weekends. Both of them are open on Saturday and Sunday. You can actually click through here for more information and the library hours. But for patrons who tell us, well, you know, I need to come in and work on the weekend and you guys aren't open and I need Westlaw, you can actually access Westlaw at these libraries on the weekend, which is fantastic. We also have visiting law librarians there twice a month. Again, you can click through on the website here for more information about those partner locations, but I really wanted to highlight that today because several of the things we're talking about are available through Westlaw and another database I'll be talking about that are at those libraries. So back to navigating our website, just as a refresher, if you want to get into any of our databases, this is where you do that. And then I'll go to Westlaw just to quickly show you this resource, Law and Motion Model Forms. Of course, you always have to agree to their conditions, no problem. And again, I like to navigate the way Nicole already showed you with Westlaw, although you can certainly start typing a title in at the top, and a lot of times it will pop up in a drop-down menu. But again, if I'm not exactly sure how to type out the title or what the wording of it is, I like to browse. And so I will go to secondary sources and then California, and then open up the full list. Now, this isn't even a full list here because a couple of these are series like Civil Practice and like Rudder Group, which I'm going to go into now, that open up into additional titles. So you can see Westlaw has, in our plan, many, many California secondary sources. So down under other publications, you'll find the Law and Motion Model Forms. So here it is. And just to show you really quickly what it looks like, there's an index that you can search, which is really handy. There's a pretty user-friendly table of contents where you can open up these drop-down menus and see here, just for general motions, how many different motions and variations on those motions are available here. Preliminary motions, again, you know, you're going to have many, many options here that you can browse to find. Motion to stay in action, motion to continue a trial, temporary restraining order, sealing records, costs or sanctions. Down here, summary judgment. And again, you're going to find really detailed sample motions here with arguments in them, and really everything you need to make your job of drafting or opposing a motion really quick and easy to do. So here I'll show you like an example of a memorandum here for an ex parte order shortening time. And you can see we have the law already well incorporated and the arguments already drafted. Your job is just really to customize this for your case. So I think this is a really fantastic resource and I highly recommend. I'm pulling the book version off the shelf for patrons all the time. So we can go back to the slideshow, please. I'll be talking about the next resource as well. So this is another one. Oh gosh, my light just went out. Oh, the fun of being in an energy efficient building here. Hopefully you can still see me. California Criminal Practice Motions, Jury Instructions, and Sentencing. And yes, this is also a Thomson Reuters publication and available in Westlaw. But I really wanted to talk about this in this webinar today because our print collection, especially on criminal law, is pretty small here at the library. And I really consider this one of the go-to criminal law resources here. If you're looking for, especially motions, jury instructions, or sentencing information, you can see this is a 7-volume set on the shelf. And then it is also, again, included in Westlaw. And because it's in Westlaw, available at our partner public library. So you have a lot of options for using this, whatever your preference, print or electronic. So I'm going to go ahead here. You can see a little bit about it. You've got not only forms, research references, but instructions for serving and filing various types of actions in criminal cases. So I'm going to go back to Westlaw again if I can. And I'm going to go again, show you the navigation that I would use. You're welcome again to start typing the title if you know it exactly, and it should pop up. But I just like to go to our California secondary sources, and here it is. It's the criminal practice, motions, jury instructions, and sentencing. So again, you have a really nice table of contents. You can see the variety of criminal law issues that are covered by this resource. And again, for all of these different type of motions and issues, will have sample forms and pleadings. You're going to have sample jury instructions. You've got some sentencing information, appeals and writs down there, sealing records, really just about everything you could imagine that you would need to do in a criminal case, especially with regard to motion work and jury instructions, you can find in this particular publication. So say maybe you want to do a motion to disqualify a judge in a particular case, maybe for cause, then you're going to have some sample documents for that. And again, I don't think we've mentioned it already, but Westlaw is very user-friendly as far as exporting material. If you find a motion, a template, a jury instruction, or something that you want to export from Westlaw, wherever you're using it, whether you're at our library, partner library, you can go ahead and come up here to this navigation bar, and where you see this envelope icon, you can actually email this material to yourself and even change the format. If it's a form, you're going to probably want to use Microsoft Word. So again, super user-friendly. You can also bring a thumb drive into the library or to the partner library and download if you want to do that. That's an option. You can print, but I think it's much more convenient to download or email. So again, just a little bit about this resource that I think is really handy for just about any kind of criminal law issue that you could be working with. So I will turn it back over to Nicole and back to the slideshow for the next resource. So I'm going to be talking about this one too. National Consumer Law Center. So little departure from Thomson Reuters here. National Consumer Law Center is a nonprofit agency and also a publisher. And they publish this fantastic database that you may or may not be aware of because it is a specialty database. As you can see, it specializes in consumer law issues. But we have this database here at the library, and we also have it at our partner libraries. And so you can use this at El Cajon Civic Center Library. So NCLC, it is a group of titles, book titles, over 20 book titles on consumer law topics. And this covers a lot of topics that we actually talk to patrons about here at the library. People who have consumer debt issues, credit card lawsuits, tenants' rights issues, especially in public housing, are covered. Lemon law, automobile fraud, mortgages and foreclosures, issues having to do with, really anything related to consumer law is covered in this publication, and it's super easy to use. So let me share screen again so I can show it to you quickly, because I think talking about it is one thing, but actually showing it to you is another. So let's see here. Sorry, I think I'm gonna go back again here. Oh, did the same thing again. Bear with me while I find the screen here. I'm going to go back to this screen here. So where do you find this publication? If I go back to our legal databases webpage on our website, hopefully you can see that, then you're going to see an icon for the National Consumer Law Center here. And you just click on it. Now, while I'm lingering on this page, let me share something with you again about this database. Not only is this one available at the library here, you can use it on your laptop here in the library. This is our column here on the databases page for wireless. But then on our right side column for remote access, you can see here that our borrowers are able to access this resource from outside the library remotely. So this is a perk of our borrowing program. If you're already one of our borrowers, I hope you know that you have some select databases available to you outside the library, but if you don't, then hopefully you get some benefit from hearing this conversation today, and you'll go back and check on this. What you do when you're using your borrower remote access is click on the right side of this page, not on the left side. The left side is for in the library. And then you will get a screen that prompts you to put your library card in. If you need your library card, you can always contact us at the reference desk, and we can email the number back to you if you don't have it handy. But you put that in and you're right in the database. Since I'm in the library today, I'm going to use the left side and show you NCLC here this way. Really nice looking database, really easy to use. So to get the titles in this database, all you have to do is click on My NCLC. That's how you get into everything here. And then on the left side of the screen, you will see the full list of book titles, and really that there's quite a variety of topics within this umbrella topic of consumer law. So the debtor's rights issue, fair debt collection, repossession, student loan law. I think that's a hot topic right now. A lot of people might want to take a look at this. Mortgages and foreclosures, fair credit reporting, automobile fraud, warranty law, collection actions, another big topic, affecting law firms as well as other type of businesses, consumer class actions, surviving debt. And then I want to scroll all the way down, because one of the really useful resources in this database is our HUD Housing Programs Tenants' Rights book, otherwise known as the Green Book. We actually have this one in print also at the library, and it is green. But this is really a really valuable resource for anyone representing clients that have issues having to do with public housing and tenants' rights. And it actually is very frequently used here in the library. So I just wanted to share that with you. And another thing about NCLC is, in addition to the books, there are companion materials. So when you are in one of these book titles, you also get some pleadings and discovery. You can get some related primary resources that you can click into. So if you want to look at those cited primary resources, you can do that without leaving the database. There's also some other things like conference materials, but I think that the sample pleadings and the primary sources are probably some of the most useful things. So I just clicked on a book title, Automobile Fraud, so you can see what you get when you are looking at one of these electronic titles. You get your summary, you get your table of contents, you can zip right to the chapter that you're interested in. You can look at the index if you want to search it by index, subject matter, and then here you have your companion materials. So if you click into companion materials, you can see that you have some sample pleadings and things. Now, I should let you know that in some of these resources, we do not have all of the companion materials in our plan. It looks like for this one, just about everything here is hyperlinked, and you will be able to actually download it. But I know when I looked at a few of the other titles, there were some of the listed companion materials that weren't in the plan, just to let you know. But I think that's enough to let you know whether this is something that's useful for you or not, but I really wanted to share it because I think it's one of our unsung databases here at the library. And again, the fact that it's remotely available to borrowers and that it's available at our companion libraries in El Cajon and Chula Vista, to me, make this a very valuable hidden gem. So back to the slideshow, please. And I think Nicole has the next one.
Okay, so the next hidden gem that we'll be talking about today is the database known as Trellis. Trellis is a database that has state court trial documents from various counties across California, as well as some other states. It is one of the databases that's available in person at the library, as well as remotely for those who are part of the borrowers program. For any of you who would like to know more about Trellis, such as accessing these trial court documents or judge analytics, we definitely recommend checking out the webinar from earlier this month on our Law Library's YouTube page. But for today, we're going to be specifically focusing on the verdict search function on Trellis, and we're going to be using slip and fall cases as an example. With slip and fall cases, these are the types of cases that can result in astronomical expenses ranging from medical bills to lost wages. And every slip and fall case is unique. Some will settle at the beginning stages of litigation and some will make it all the way to trial. So the verdict search function on Trellis really allows attorneys to map the trajectories from different settlement strategies and also helps with identify the range of possible outcomes for each decision in the litigation process. So just quickly, I'm going to show you what it looks like. That's the overall picture, but I'm going to also take you in and show you how to access this verdict search in Trellis. So again, using this legal database page, you see Trellis is right here, and it, as you can see, it's also one of those accessible remotely for our borrowers. So we'll click here. This is what the page is going to bring you initially to, but for the verdict search, you're going to want to go up here and click verdicts. And here's where you enter keywords. So for this example, I'm using slip and fall. And I put quotations to be exact. And then I also, I'm going to add or to have trip and fall, just in case. And then I'm going to filter it to California. And then, so as you can see, 515 verdicts are found, but once I apply California, it goes lower to 211. And you'll say see verdicts. And this will bring you to that page that I showed you earlier on the PowerPoint. You'll see the lowest, highest, average, and median. Median might be a better approximate or estimate because average tends to be affected by outliers. So that's just something to note. But you can also see the verdict defendant, verdict plaintiff, settlement, and other types of outcomes. And then scrolling down, you'll be able to see the verdict amount listed on the side over here. And then another interesting feature about this is you can also filter it by the types of injuries. So you'll see there's multiple different options for filtering this based off of injuries. And then another feature I wanted to show you. So if we click into one, here's where you'll see the verdict information now available to you. You can even see the demand and then the amount that they were awarded. But another really cool feature on Trellis is down here, you actually can see the experts that testified in this case. And so you can click on these experts and this will bring you to the other cases that they had testified for, provided their expert testimony for. Let me just see if we can click one that has some other ones. So here you'll see, more situations where that expert had testified it or provided evidence. So that's just one of the features of Trellis that we wanted to show you and go over. Like I mentioned before, earlier this month, there was a webinar specifically on Trellis that covered more stuff such as judge analytics and accessing trial court documents. So if you're interested in learning more about Trellis, definitely check out our YouTube page. And then I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint.
I just want to chime in a little bit about Trellis because I feel like it has taken our library by storm. We really have only had Trellis, I think, since last year. It's a newer database. We're certainly, as librarians, still learning how to use it and help patrons with it. But I am so impressed with everything you can do with this database and its uniqueness because, of course, some of the other databases you might be familiar with focus on appellate level court cases and documents. And it's been really difficult to find trial court documents before Trellis came along. And in fact, if you do go back, and I recommend that you do, and watch the webinar with Nicole Clark, who's the CEO and founder of Trellis that we had earlier this month, which you can find on our YouTube channel. Nicole talks about being a very frustrated employment litigator. And one of her pet peeves in her practice was how difficult it was to obtain copies of trial court documents. And she wanted to do something about that. And so she actually created this database, has worked out arrangements with the courts to populate it with the trial court documents and make them easily accessible. It is still being built and documents are still continuously being added to it. But I've been impressed just in the short time that we've had it and working with patrons, how we've been able to find really useful information. And then now the addition of this verdict search, just takes it to the next level. If the interface on the verdict search looked familiar, it works very much like the database we used to have called verdict search, which we no longer have. So I'm just so glad we now have this as an option for patrons who need to do this kind of research to value their cases. And it's very user-friendly.
I agree with what Lisa said. It is extremely user-friendly. So that's Trellis. Moving on to our next hidden gems. Some of you might be familiar with this. This is the Internet Archive, also known as the Wayback Machine. The Internet Archive is a digital library of internet sites and other cultural artifacts that are in digital form. Like Paper Library, the Wayback Machine provides free access to researchers, historians, scholars, and the public. So I'm going to give a demonstration of how to use the Wayback Machine and also let you know why we're featuring this in our hidden gems today. Okay, let me just exit out of these Trellis. So the Wayback Machine will be available to anyone. You don't have to access it through our legal databases. The URL is just archive.org/web. You can also just Google Wayback Machine and the very first link should bring you to this page. How to use the Wayback Machine is you'll see a URL available to you right here, or like a space where you can enter a URL. And so for the example that I wanted to show you guys today, we're just going to be using the San Diego Law Library's website. And you'll see throughout the years how it has been saved and archived and how you can access that. So after you put in the URL, you'll press Browse History. And if you can see, our library's webpage has been archived dating all the way back to 2001. But sometimes you will run into issues with these, dates from 2001, 2002 of the web page loading, just because it might not have the technology has advanced to where it won't be able to load. So just to be safe, we're going to be using one from 2011. And then when it has a circle around the date, that'll signify that on that date, that web page had been archived. So you see, as for February 1st, 2011, you put your cursor over it and then it'll give you a time. And if you click it, it'll bring you to, actually, this does not look, give me 1 second. Let's try this again. I think I had it's San Diego. Sorry, Lisa, I should know this, but our URL has changed. Can you remind me what the old
It was
URL was?
SDCPLL.
Oh, okay.
I think back at that date. So try that one.
Oh, wait, SD.
CP, San Diego County Public Law Library. We shortened it.
Well, while I just made this mistake, I'll take this opportunity to also let you know if the webpage that you're looking for has not been archived, when you go and put in that URL, it will come back saying, Wayback Machine has not archived that, meaning that there's no website that you can like go look at, like how we're doing this exercise. Okay, and Lisa, just to confirm, it's sdcpll.org. Okay. Let's try this again. Here we go. So this is a screenshot or a screen capture of what the San Diego Public Law Library looked like back in 2011. As you can see, we've come a long way of website design. And so why we're featuring this in the hidden gems is, I'll bring you back to our screen share, is that you can actually use these archives as evidence for the cases that you're working on. So using an example of a federal court case back in 2011 titled Amen and versus Subway, this was a false advertising case against Subway and whether their tuna sandwiches actually contained tuna. The screen capture here is referencing evidence that had been submitted on behalf of the restaurant of their images, what their website looked like, and it was taken from the Wayback Machine. And so if you can see, it says, although a document is not judicially noticeable simply because it appears on a publicly available website, courts have taken notice of archived web pages using the so-called Wayback Machine. And you can even see the case site where it was case president and established that. If you were to go into LexisNexis or Westlaw and put in quotations Wayback Machine, it will pull up multiple different cases where this has been, where archived pages from the Wayback Machine has been used as evidence and admitted as evidence into the court. Additionally, we wanted to talk about how you can request an affidavit from the Wayback Machine. So if you go on the Wayback Machine, I've included some URLs to have more information about these affidavits that the Wayback Machine can provide. They do have on their webpage, which I'll go back and show you. Here is their standard affidavit. This is what they'll typically, you can request this affidavit in order to bring the whatever web pages, the archive of that web page into court as evidence. You can request this from the Wayback Machine. This is a standard one, but if you go on, they have a legal frequently asked questions. You go and look, they talk about being able to change that standard affidavit to fit the needs of your case, which is something they can do. And then there's information about the price as well for these affidavits. This is why we're featuring this on the Hidden Gems seminar today or webinar today, because I think that although some people might know about the Wayback Machine, they might not have known that this is something that they can use as evidence in court, as well as receiving an affidavit from the Wayback Machine themselves. And so we thought this was something that was really cool and wanted to pass along to other attorneys so that they can have this information.
You know, I'm one of those ones who knew that this existed, but it never crossed my mind that this service might be available to actually have them provide an affidavit. And then I got so interested in this when we were talking about it, I actually went to Fastcase one day and put in that Wayback Machine in quotes. Search got like 700 results. And it's just so interesting to see the variety of cases and the different ways that this has been used as evidence in so many different type of cases. Now, I think the actual process of doing that is beyond the scope of our presentation today. And I noted that in some cases, they actually brought live testimony from representatives of Wayback who talked about how it is, how this archiving is done and the process to authenticate the pages. So I don't think it's always as easy as just presenting the affidavit, but I think there's just such a variety of cases where this is invaluable. Maybe a defamation case where somebody has put some information online and then taking it down and you want to prove that it existed at a certain date. Family law cases, cases where it's disputed whether someone's injured and they're posting on their social media that they went to Zumba class, false advertising, like the subway case. Just so many applications of this kind of electronic evidence these days, and it's become so pervasive in court cases. I think it's just really valuable to know that this is one way to potentially get information into evidence, and also, previous versions of websites, because they are so changeable, and social media as well. You can search social media accounts. And again, you may or may not find that snapshot in time that you need. You could see, at least going back on our website, certainly there was only some sporadic dates that were available, but it's worth investigating, especially since searching it is free.
Okay, so going back to our PowerPoint. So these are just some more links to get some more information about that process with the Wayback Machine that we've provided for you. And that'll bring us to our next hidden gem.
So this is one I wanted to talk about. It's a website called legalaid@work.org. I just only recently became acquainted with Legal Aid at Work, and I'm so impressed both with the organization and their website that I wanted to include it in this presentation today. Now, I became acquainted with this organization because an attorney from Legal Aid at Work named Maria Tapia Hernandez participated in a recent webinar that you can find on our website. We have had several webinars recently about federal tax and unemployment insurance benefit issues that have been presented by the Legal Aid Society of San Diego. And our folks from Legal Aid actually invited Maria from Legal Aid at Work to talk about unemployment benefit issues such as appeals and denials. And that's something that they specialize in, among other things, at Legal Aid at Work. But I was amazed to learn about this organization just when I think I've seen it all. I find out about some service or organization that I never knew about. And I knew I wanted to share this with our patrons because it's a really unique organization. So this is a legal aid agency, but they specialize in workers' rights issues specifically, and in a whole variety of workers' rights issues. So we certainly have other agencies in San Diego like Legal Aid Society and San Diego Volunteer Lawyers Program. But I did not know that there is an agency, it's specific to California, that has clinics in San Diego and a very informative website all on workers' rights. And so I just wanted to share this website with you and tell you a little bit about it and their services. So I'm gonna go share my screen again. And here it is live. So this is what it looks like. It's just legalaid@work.org, really easy to find. You can also Google that name and find the website. You can translate this into multiple languages, which is really nice. So what I wanted to focus on is the Get Legal Help feature. There's 3 different ways this website provides legal assistance. First, there are clinics and phone help services, direct services for people who qualify for their assistance. There is an income restriction. You need to be a low income or unemployed worker here in California to get this service. But I want to bring this up, even though I think our audience today is primarily attorneys, I think, and maybe not for sure, but you may run across people who would be benefited from being referred to this agency. If, for instance, they come to you and you can't help them, but they need some free or low-cost legal assistance. So they have what they call the Workers' Rights Clinic that operates throughout California in multiple languages, assisting with a variety of issues all related to workers' rights. And then you can scroll on the website and find the phone number for your location. We have a phone number specific for San Diego. You make contact with them to schedule an appointment, and then they're very transparent about the income eligibility requirement here. It's right on their website, so somebody can kind of see at a glance before they contact if they wish to figure out whether or not they're eligible for the assistance. They also have more information. They've got a video and some information on other clinics and helplines that have to do with workers' rights. So that's really fantastic. And we just referred a patron to this today who walked into the library, so pretty cool. They also have what I wanted to share with you, I believe over 100 fact sheets on different workers' rights related and employment law topics. Now, these could be of interest to attorneys as well as self-represented litigants or people looking for legal assistance. So they just have many fact sheets on different employment law and workers' rights topics here. And then with some of these, there's even things like sample letters and templates for things that you need to draft. And you can see the huge variety of topics that's covered here. So just to show you one, I'll scroll back quickly here. Here's one on appealing an administrative law judge's decision to the Unemployment Appeals Board. So this is something similar to what Maria was talking about at the webinar. It was about how folks who've had unemployment benefits denied, and there's many people in that situation right now, can go and have that decision reviewed at the Unemployment Appeals Board. And this fact sheet in particular had, oh, there goes my light again, not only some information about the process, the deadline, what happens after you file your appeal, why you should file an appeal, but also a template document to help you with the appeal. So I think this is an incredible resource. Again, I just recently became aware of it, but I think it's very, very valuable. And then the third thing I wanted to share is they do also have, separate from the fact sheets, guides and sample letters. And that's the third thing I really wanted to highlight. Again, this could be useful for attorneys and pro se's alike, especially if you don't specialize in employment law. You might find this to be a user-friendly way to find a sample letter, COVID paid sick leave request, documentation of harassment, vision accommodation for visually impaired. I mean, just a whole variety of issues. And they've got these really handy sample letters and then even toolkits for some issues. So how to represent yourself before the Labor Commission, a toolkit for transgender and non-binary workers with all kinds of useful information in one place. So I was very impressed with this website and with the organization and their services. Again, keep this in mind if you come across someone who needs some free or low-cost legal assistance with workers' rights or employment law, or take advantage of these resources yourself if you're an attorney representing clients in these areas. And take a look at legalaid@work.org. So we can go back to the slideshow. I think that's everything I had to say about that one.
So the next hidden gems that we wanted to talk about is our pleading paper template for federal court here in the Southern District. Online, the Southern District had their own template, but it kind of had some stuff missing. So we decided to create our own. And I wanted to show you guys how you can access this template as well as the instructions pursuant to the local rules. So going back to the San Diego website. So going to the home page, I'll show you guys how to access this pleading paper template. If you go up here under self-help, guides and samples, you'll see some of our research guides and motion guides that we've put together. This is also in alphabetical order. So you'll scroll down to pleading paper template and you'll see federal. Clicking this link, you'll see that we created this template following the Southern District local rules. We also created a general instruction guide for you to follow. So if you click this link, it'll bring you to a PDF that we created. This is going to show you what the pleading template should look like, and it will also have A, B, C, D. And if you scroll down, here's where you will see the Southern District of California local rules. and some instructions of how to fill out the template. So it's extremely detailed. We wanted to cover all the bases. And then if you go back to the library website, there's instructions for how to download the paper template as well. But if you click this link here, you'll see down here the federal pleading paper downloaded. And then it'll open a Word doc, which let me try and share that with you guys. So here's what the pleading paper template will end up looking like. So it doesn't have that the A, B, C as the general instruction guide. That was just so you could follow it and see the local rules. But like any other template, you'll just delete the, insert the case number and put in your own case number, change the title of the pleading. And it's already in this font size that's required in federal court. And this all starts at the required line as well. So we just found that this would be useful, like for somebody who might not be practicing so often in federal court, that they would have a template already available to them pursuant to all of the local rules for the Southern District. So that's something that we've just added to our library self-help page with the guides and the motion and research guides that we wanted to feature in this Hidden Gems webinar.
So we've always had California pleading paper, I shouldn't say always, but for a long time, we've had California pleading paper for Superior Court on our website, but we've always been referring patrons until recently to other sources for the federal pleading paper, which is under, different rules, a little bit of a different formatting. And, that wasn't ideal. We were either recommending them to the version that's on the Sacramento Law Library website, which had, they had to change the name of the court. And I have a feeling in some cases, especially with our pro se's, they may or may not have done that using that pleading paper. And then also the one on the court website to me is not ideal. It is so bare and plain that especially our pro se litigants did not know what to do with it. Or, I noticed they weren't putting their name at the top and things like that. So we really wanted to create something that was a little bit more user-friendly. They had the right name of the court on it. And I want to give Nicole credit for the one who actually put it together. Like finally, we've been talking about doing this for a long time, and it took Nicole coming along and getting it done. But we're very proud of it, and we hope it's useful for you, and wanted to bring that up today as a part of our presentation, that this is one of our new guides. And while you're in there, look at the list of guides and templates that we have. You might see something else that's useful to you there if you haven't looked at that before. We've spent a lot of time developing a lot of these guides, and they cover a lot of issues. Some of them, the ones that we think come up most at the library, or where there was really a need for a template for something like ex parte application that was readily available, where you don't have to come into the library to get it. These are all, of course, readily available on our website from anywhere.
And then going back to the PowerPoint for the last honorable mention, I'll let Lisa take it away.
So we always do an honorable mention, something maybe we don't talk about in quite as much detail, but today I wanted to just mention Diso Master. I guess if you're someone that needs Diso Master, you probably already know what it is, because it is specific to family law practice. So if you're not involved in family law practice, it may or may not be of interest to you. But I just wanted to put out there, in case it is not well known, that we do have Diso Master on some of our computers here at the library. And Diso Master, if you don't know what it is a software program that does the calculation for you for child and spousal support based on the algebraic formula in the California Family Code. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I can't do algebra anymore. And certainly, would struggle with that if I had to do that calculation on my own. But the Diso Master is a program where you just can fill out fields about certain things like income, different things that are taken into consideration in a number of children, that kind of thing, in calculating child and spousal support in family law cases. And it's kind of like the verdict search in Trellis that Nicole talked about. You plug these factors in, and then it does the calculation for you. One of the nice things about Diso Master is it actually has been approved for making calculations for use in family court by the California Judicial Council. It's considered extremely accurate and reputable. And we keep this updated. There's an update to it every year, to reflect any legal changes. And here you can see a little picture of our public computers here at the library. And, to make it easy to remember which ones have Diso Master, it's the back row or the ones that are closest to the front door, are number 10, 11, 12, and 13 computers. And as librarians here, we are not users of this, and we tend to not really help patrons with it a lot. So I'm not sure we can be of great assistance if someone doesn't know how to use it. But I do think most family law practitioners and people involved in these cases can sit down and find that it's pretty user-friendly. Again, it just works with filling out a series of fields and drop-down menus and then clicking to do a calculation. And then you can save these reports and use them in your case. It might come in handy even for people who have this in their office. I don't think this is a terribly expensive software to purchase if you have a family law practice. But if you are at court saying you want to come in and do something on the lunch hour, over the break, and you need to go back to court in the afternoon, just be aware that this is something that's available here at our library. And I consider it a hidden gem because we don't really have any signage, or we don't particularly advertise this. I'm not sure if it's even appearing on our website anywhere, but just wanted to put out there that you can just sit right down at these computers. They have an icon for Diso Master there, and you are welcome to come anytime and use that for free at our library. So back to the slideshow. We just wanted to share our information with you. If you have follow-up questions that go beyond the time of the presentation today, or any reference questions, you are welcome to contact us. And anytime the library is open, no matter who is here, you can get help from the reference desk. And I always recommend maybe starting with the reference desk. There's our email and our phone number. And again, sometimes we can maybe help you with something to save you a trip into the library. So, give us a try at the reference desk before you come in, or if you just have a quick question or want to know if we're open or anything like that. And then we wanted to share this with you. We currently, if you're watching this live, because this will be on the YouTube channel later for later viewing, but if you're watching it live, it is a holiday season here in San Diego, and we have our annual Bookmas tree displayed in its splendor in the lobby, and we just wanted to share this picture. We're really proud of it. We think it's really fun, and hoping you come by and see it in person. We've even had people come in specifically to take pictures with it for their holiday cards. It's really fun. And so that's the note we wanted to end on. And I see that we have a question here. Oh gosh, this is a good question, and one I'm afraid I probably can't answer, but please email the reference desk and maybe we can look into this and let you know. This attendee wants to know if there are any support calculation programs that are used for international support calculations. For instance, when a litigant resides in another country. I'm not familiar enough with Diso Master to tell you for sure that it covers that, but we can certainly look into that. And if you contact us at the reference desk, we'll get you an answer to that question. But that's a good question. And again, the people who come in and use that are usually pretty self-sufficient. So we're definitely not the experts. Oh, and I love this comment. Thank you, Monica. She says the law library is a hidden gem. Hopefully we're not too hidden. And thank you for the informative session. Thank you so much, Monica. And, you're one of our favorite patrons too. So yes. So I think we're just about out of time, and we have another minute or so in case anyone else had any questions. I don't think we have time to demonstrate any of these resources, but please, if you're interested in any of these, come in and see us or email us. We'd be happy to help demonstrate these for you in person, maybe even help you run some searches for your specific matter that you're researching. And that's what we do.
Or they can come just to check out our book mystery.
Or pop into one of our partner locations. I really wanted to spotlight that today as another hidden gem. If you're anywhere near Chula Vista or El Cajon, you have a great resource there where there's free parking, open on weekends, and you can actually use a variety of databases that we've made available there, and particularly through a grant for the Westlaw. So we're really excited to be able to offer that because we know some of you are working hard on the weekends, and we are not open on the weekend. And so I hope that's of value to you. All right, well, I think we're out of time. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hope you found
so much for joining us.